The landscape of the WNBA has shifted dramatically, fueled not just by incredible athleticism, but by a digital firestorm that shows no signs of slowing down. As social media platforms become the primary arenas for sports discourse, the line between professional critique and internet clowning has blurred. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the polarizing discussion surrounding Angel Reese. To her supporters, she is a trailblazer redefining the post-game with her rebounding tenacity. To her critics, she has become the ultimate low-light machine, a player whose technical shortcomings are constantly being magnified by a digital audience that refuses to look away. This video breakdown highlights the stark contrast between the media-constructed narrative of a rising superstar and the raw, unedited reality of the game tape. We aren't just talking about a player having a rough night. We are discussing a systemic clash between hype, marketing, and fundamental basketball skill. As we analyze these specific moments, it is important to ask ourselves, are we watching a rookie's growing pains, or are we witnessing the inevitable friction caused when a player is thrust into a spotlight that their current game cannot yet sustain? Let's dive into the truth.
Every time Angel Reese gets on a basketball court, it just looks more sad, more pathetic than the game prior. The missed layups get worse. The falling over gets worse. The falling down gets worse. The me-bounds increase. Angel Reese is a low-light machine.
The narrative surrounding Angel Reese has reached a fever pitch, primarily because of the disparity between her public image and her on-court production. When the host refers to her as a low-light machine, it isn't just hyperbole, it is a direct reflection of a specific type of viral content that has emerged this season. In any other era of sports, a rookie would be allowed to develop quietly. They would make mistakes, miss layups, and occasionally fall down, and it would be dismissed as part of the learning curve. However, the digital era provides no such sanctuary. The commentary here focuses on the nature of these mistakes. It's not simply that she misses shots, it's the lack of grace and fundamental polish in her execution. When a player is projected as a cornerstone of a franchise, the audience expects a certain baseline of technical competence. Every time Reese enters the paint, the scrutiny intensifies. The footage shows a player who often appears to be fighting against her own momentum, leading to uncontrolled drives and awkward finishing attempts at the rim. Why has this become a focal point of public discourse? Because the media has pushed a double-double machine narrative so aggressively that it has created an equal and opposite reaction. Fans who feel that the stats are misleading, that they don't capture the missed defensive rotations, the poor shot selection, or the lack of offensive variety, feel a need to correct the record. They use these low lights as evidence to counter the mainstream hype. It's a tug of war for the soul of her professional identity. Furthermore, this clip brings up a crucial question about the bully identity. Often, Reese is lauded for her physicality, but physical play without technical skill is a recipe for disaster in the professional ranks. Veterans in the WNBA are far too smart to be intimidated by physical posturing alone. They recognize when a player is over-relying on strength, and they adjust their defensive schemes accordingly. This often leads to the very pathetic scenes described in the video. Shots being contested and missed, positioning being lost, and a player looking visibly frustrated by their own limitations. The low-light machine isn't a badge of honor, but it is a testament to how exposed a player becomes when the hype exceeds their current skill set. Ultimately, this segment forces the viewer to confront the reality that professional basketball is unforgiving. It doesn't care about your social media following, your marketing deals, or your public persona. It only cares about the bucket, the box score, and the fundamentals. If those aren't there, the camera will find your mistakes, and the internet will make sure they never disappear.
For her, 11 boards.
Mabry lobs it inside. Good job by Holmes to poke it free. 7 on the shot clock. 3 on the way.
Reese seals off. In and out. Gets it back. The old Lord no. Reese again tips away. It should stick. Dream drive. Angel Reese off the rim. Reese regathers.
Oh. Damn.
Reese left alone, slaps the backboard for the lay-in.
Slaps it.
There is a specific brand of comedy that only thrives when the audience feels they are in on a shared, somewhat forbidden truth. The viral skit mocking Angel Reese is the perfect example of this. It wasn't just a random act of trolling, it was a surgical dissection of her movement, her shooting form, and even her specific court mannerisms. The fact that the skit garnered more engagement than some of her own game highlights is a massive indictment of how the public perceives her current developmental level. The commentary within the clip, noting that the impersonator actually made more baskets than Reese did in a real game, is devastatingly effective. It serves as a sharp reminder that humor is often the most potent form of criticism. When you can turn a professional athlete's mechanics into a caricature, you strip away the layers of PR-protected narrative that usually surround them. You are left with the raw truth of the mechanics, which, in Reese's case, appear to be a frequent subject of ridicule. Consider the poker fingers mentioned in the video. Small, granular details like this are what make these skits so viral. They aren't just mocking her for being bad. They are mocking her for her specific habits, the way she behaves when things go wrong, the way she reacts to missing a shot, and the way she carries herself. This is highly personalized satire. For fans who watch her games and feel a genuine sense of frustration at her inconsistent play, these videos act as a release valve. They confirm that their observations, that her form is shaky, her release is too high, or her footwork is frantic, are shared by thousands of others. However, this also highlights a deeper tension within the league's fan base. The Angel Reese simps, as the video host calls them, find this offensive because they see it as bullying. This leads to a digital battlefield in the comment sections where the debate moves from her basketball IQ to the morality of sports criticism. This is precisely why the content stays viral. It is not just about basketball anymore. It is about identity. People aren't just watching the skit. They are watching the reaction to the skit. They are participating in a culture war between those who believe she is a legitimate star and those who believe she is a manufactured product of an overhyped media environment. The skit effectively forces the audience to see her movements through a lens of imperfection. Once you see the flaws highlighted in such a funny, exaggerated way, it's hard to unsee them during a real game. Every time she shoots or drives to the hoop, you aren't just looking at the play, you are subconsciously referencing the parody. This is the power of viral content. It doesn't just comment on the athlete, it changes the way the audience experiences the athlete on a fundamental level. For Reese, this poses a massive challenge. How do you silence the jokes when the jokes are becoming the dominant way people talk about your game?
He made more baskets in this clip than she did the entire night. Damn. Brilliant. The accuracy. He missed one thing there. He needed to do the too small. Indeed. Best Angel Reese impersonator I've seen yet. All these dudes in the comments are so mad. I love it. Wow. Leading the league in offensive rebounds and missed shots. Did anyone notice she did a shot fake right-handed and she shoots left-handed? I actually did not notice that. This is accurate as fuck. I'll bet my life that she blocked you for this. Damn. Yeah, I'm already knowing what's about to happen. It's so obvious that she can't ball. How many people hate when the shots he took exactly like her real shot chart? Yeah, this is a real life shot chart that Angel Reese has. Now, the Indiana Fever are going up against the Atlanta Dream today in the State Farm Arena because when Caitlin Clark comes to town, they have to move it to the Big Boy Arena, right? Angel Reese being in Atlanta isn't enough for them to permanently move games to the State Farm Arena because they don't even sell out their little miniature arena. So what's the point of turning on the lights for the State Farm Arena?
The concept of the Caitlin Clark stimulus package is one of the most interesting economic developments in professional sports in recent years. It acknowledges a reality that the league, for a long time, tried to downplay, that one individual player can possess a gravitational pull strong enough to alter the logistical and financial planning of entire franchises. When the Indiana Fever visits cities, it is no longer just a basketball game. It is an economic event. This is why teams are forced to move games to larger arenas. They aren't doing it out of kindness. They are doing it because they would be leaving millions of dollars on the table otherwise. This segment perfectly illustrates the divide between the league's egalitarian messaging and the business reality. The WNBA has spent years trying to build a brand centered on the sisterhood and the collective value of all teams. But when Caitlin Clark arrives, that model is disrupted. Suddenly, there is a clear, unambiguous hierarchy of star power. And this is where the friction with players like Angel Reese often originates. If you are a player who has been marketed as a future face of the league, and you suddenly see an environment where your presence is treated as a routine event, while another player's arrival is treated as a historic migration, it creates a deep-seated resentment. It is important to understand why this economic disparity matters. It drives the narrative that Clark is above the rest of the league, which fuels the backlash from other players and certain segments of the media. They see the stimulus package as proof that the league is prioritizing one player over all others. They feel that the success of the WNBA shouldn't be so heavily reliant on a single individual. And yet, the data, the hotel occupancy, the ticket revenue, the local business traffic is unequivocal. The market has spoken. For the average fan, this isn't about disrespecting the history of the league or the hard work of other athletes. It is about acknowledging that we are currently living in a unique moment of growth, and that growth is being spearheaded by a specific player. When the video host talks about the warm welcome in Atlanta, it serves as a contrast to the often hostile environments Clark faces elsewhere. The city knows that when the stimulus package shows up, the town thrives. The tension, however, is that this economic reality makes the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark narrative inevitable. You cannot have a massive league-wide star like Clark and not have the media try to create a foil. Reese, with her aggressive rebounding style and her own massive following, was the obvious choice to be that foil. But the economic impact of the Clark stimulus package makes it a very difficult battle for anyone else to win. You are essentially comparing a player who brings her own economy with her versus a player who is still struggling to maintain consistency in her own arena. It is a fundamental mismatch in magnitude, and that realization is what drives so much of the current angst in the WNBA.
You notice she's always trying to play bully ball. Yeah, she's always trying to play bully ball, but then once a real bully like Alyssa Thomas shows up, the bully ball stops. If you guys haven't noticed that, once the real bully shows up, the bully ball quickly stops. The tail goes in between the legs. Dog's been making these since 2017. If you can't get over on different content, give it up. I mean, he's been doing this same content since 2017 and it's been working.
The bully ball debate is perhaps the most defining tactical critique of Angel Reese's young career. The term itself implies a certain dominance, a refusal to back down, the use of size to overwhelm, and a gritty approach to the paint. But as this segment notes, there is a distinct difference between bully ball and disciplined post play. Bully ball works when you have a physical advantage against inferior competition. It stops working the moment you run into a high-level defender who understands how to hold their ground, draw charges, and force you into uncomfortable situations. When the video mentions Alyssa Thomas, it identifies the gold standard of professional defensive discipline. Thomas is a master at turning an opponent's aggression against them. When Reese tries to bully her, she isn't just playing hard, she is playing into the hands of a veteran who knows exactly how to neutralize that specific brand of physicality. The observation that the bully suddenly becomes the bullied is the core of this critique. It suggests that her style is not just one-dimensional, it's predictable. And in the professional game, predictability is the fastest way to get neutralized. This brings up a larger issue of basketball IQ. True greatness in the post isn't just about how hard you can push. It's about where you position yourself, how you read the double team, and how you adjust when your primary move is blocked. Critics argue that Reese is overly reliant on her college-level dominance, where she could simply outwork people for offensive rebounds. But at the pro level, everyone is athletic. Everyone is working hard. You need secondary moves, you need a shooting touch, and you need the ability to pass out of a crowded paint. The comment about the tail between the legs is a harsh way of describing what happens when a player realizes their primary tool is no longer effective. It's that moment of hesitation, the point where they stop attacking and start thinking. And in basketball, thinking is often too late. This segment is powerful because it challenges the dog or grit persona that Reese has built. It's easy to look tough when you are getting 15 rebounds against a struggling team. It is much harder to look tough when you are being held to low percentages and being forced to take contested shots by a disciplined defender. This is the reality check that every rookie eventually faces, but for Reese, it is being broadcast to the world. It frames her as a player who is currently hitting a ceiling. Whether or not she can break through that ceiling depends entirely on whether she is willing to evolve. If she remains committed to bully ball, because it fits the brand, she will continue to struggle against the league's elite. But if she embraces the need for tactical improvement, she could become the player that her supporters keep claiming she is. Until that happens, the reality check described in this clip will remain the most compelling argument against her status as a top-tier WNBA force. The saga of Angel Reese, the surrounding media noise, and the tactical critiques of her game represent a singular moment in the evolution of the WNBA. We are seeing a league transition from a niche, respected professional sport into a digital powerhouse where the conversations surrounding the game are often as loud as the games themselves. As we have seen through the breakdown of these clips, the discourse has moved beyond simple analysis and into the realm of cultural conflict. The clips we analyzed highlight the core of this conflict: the low-light machine narrative, the biting power of viral parodies, the economic reality of the Clark stimulus package, and the tactical limitations of bully ball. Each of these themes contributes to a larger story about how a player's reputation is constructed, and perhaps more importantly, how it is dismantled in the modern age. It is a story about the fragility of hype in an era where every mistake is archived, shared, and turned into a meme. For the average basketball fan, this has been an exhausting but fascinating season. On one hand, you have the historic performances of players like Caitlin Clark, whose impact is rewriting the financial and cultural prospects of the entire league. On the other, you have the rise of a player like Angel Reese, who has become the lightning rod for all the frustrations, hopes, and biases that come with such rapid growth. The tension between these two narratives is what keeps the WNBA at the center of the sports conversation. But what does this mean for the future of the league? We have to consider whether this level of hyperscrutiny is sustainable or even healthy. While it is undeniable that the controversy and the clowning generate views and engagement, there is a point where the toxicity of the discourse begins to alienate the very fans the league wants to retain. When the conversation is more about who is icing out, who or whose podcast is more biased, the actual basketball, the beautiful, technical, and high-level play of the women on the court gets lost in the shuffle. The WNBA is currently testing the limits of how much weight its brand can carry. It is a league built on incredible history, but it is currently being steered by an internet-first culture that prizes conflict over consensus. For a player like Reese, the pressure is immense. Every time she steps onto the floor, she is carrying the weight of not just her own performance, but the expectations of an entire segment of the fan base that is looking to see if she can live up to the hype, and an equally large segment of the fan base that is actively looking for reasons to see her fail. Ultimately, this is a story about the cost of the spotlight. The spotlight brings attention, revenue, and historic growth, but it also brings a level of scrutiny that very few athletes are prepared for. It requires a mental fortitude that goes well beyond what is needed to play the game. As we look ahead to the final stretch of the season and beyond, it will be interesting to see who emerges from this chaos as the true leaders of the league. Will it be those who can tune out the noise and focus on their development, or will it be those who learn to navigate the digital landscape, leveraging the attention while ignoring the vitriol? The truth is, the noise isn't going anywhere. In fact, it is only going to get louder. The viral skits will continue, the MVP debates will rage on podcasts, and the statistical breakdowns will be used as ammunition in the comment sections. But beneath all that, the game will still be played. The ball will still be tipped, the defense will still be set, and players will still have to prove their worth with their play. The digital narratives can distort the reality of the game, but they cannot erase it. Eventually, the hype will settle. The parodies will be forgotten, and all that will remain is the legacy that these athletes build for themselves. The WNBA is witnessing a trial by fire. For Angel Reese, for Caitlin Clark, and for all the stars of this generation, this is the environment they have to master. It is a test of not just skill, but of character. Can you stay focused when the internet is trying to define you? Can you keep playing when the world is keeping score of your every mistake? These are the questions that will define the next chapter of this sport. As fans, all we can do is watch, evaluate, and try to keep the focus where it belongs, on the game itself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Stay objective, keep watching the tape, and we will see you on the next one.